And we're back going live with Patriotic Art Live with my friend
We're
across the
live.
pond. Yes, we are live, alive and
Testing.
live.
Just
Testing one,
testing.
two, three. Internet, are you there? Come in, Internet. This is
Uh,
Patriot in the UK and Donald Kent in the United States. We are broadcasting live for your enjoyment and enrichment in the Patriotic Art Live show. So, welcome back. We got a very cool show for you today. Holy crow! Where this is part
that's
two
right.
of the Greek martial arts show. I forget how it's pronounced. What's it called?
Pancration, I believe.
Pancration.
Pancration.
Yes,
Just
and
turn these
we're
levels
gonna
down a bit.
right.
Sorry.
We that was
Yeah.
the theme of last week's show, where we're discovering that basically doing two parts to one show is better because there's a lot of content to cover, and you can't really squeeze out a work of art in an hour or so. So like, we need a little more
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Um, and then,
We're able to pretty
sorry.
much. Yeah, I mean, we're both finding a lot of weeks are filled with a lot of other time to do other things. So it makes sense, doesn't it, to kind of flesh out one
Yeah,
topic and make a go of it. And
for sure, for sure. Yeah, indeed.
yeah, so
So there's a couple announcements and things as well here. Maybe we can kind of jump into that before we get
sure.
cooking on the show here. And also we can talk about our art as well. So
Yeah,
the
let's go through now. Why don't we just discuss that? And
all right, let's start
I
with
mean,
yours.
mine,
If you could you zoom in on yours a bit so we could see a little. Okay,
yeah.
you got. So this
Well,
looks like an
mine's
actual.
straightforward.
Yeah.
Is literally just a fighting scene. And to be honest, I am drawing from reference. I just wanted
Okay.
something easy to
Yeah.
practice a bit of my line work. And the Great White Ape from last week suggested I put a banana in. In fact, he demanded it, and so I had to put in Monkey Man there at the back, chanting and cheering on.
Oh my God, that's funny.
I'm not sure he will stay in. Maybe he will. I don't know.
He's
Yeah, I think he needs to stay in.
the great white ape is one of our buddies. We have the best fans on this show, by the way. Say a quick hello to Hippocratic Oath in the audience. Um, yeah, so it looks like your scene is an actual scene of this kind of
Hmm.
Greek martial art. We're going to go over some more historic points on that today. I think it should be quite interesting. As many of you
Yeah.
know, I've studied. I can't tell you how long because I would probably dox my age a little bit, but I've studied kung fu
Hmm.
for decades, let's say. And I actually found something extremely cool. I kind of went back in my old magazines and I found a picture of my teacher. This is my Shaolin teacher. He is the official teacher of Shaolin Temple USA, located in Queens, New York. And there's just a wonderful story behind the 3 years that I worked with him, and before I moved to Taiwan and continued studying kung fu over there and Buddhism. But yeah, pretty neat. Huh?
Mm.
So,
So
and
why
got
don't you
some
show
other.
inside?
I'm sorry, inside. All right.
Why don't you show inside it?
You mean I'm just teasing the audience here? All right, so let's find the article a little bit. There's just some cool pictures in here. So at the time, how could I say? Um, I really wanted to get serious about kung fu. I had studied some martial arts, and I wanted to go full throttle. And I just thought, what's the highest level I could go to? And that's Shaolin. Shaolin is it's like the Harvard of or the Oxford of kung fu. Basically, it's a long story. It's the sort of the center of Chan Jiao, which is Zen Buddhism in China.
You did the
And
accent well.
well, I speak Mandarin. I mean, not fluently, but I do speak Mandarin. So anyway, I moved to New York City, and I was actually going to look at another Shaolin school.
Hmm.
Come to find out that that's not the legitimate Shaolin school. And while I was looking for work teaching English, I was in Queens, in the Chinatown there, and I stumbled upon this. So I thought it was very karmic that I just, stumbled upon the martial arts temple there. I just walked right
Okay.
in, and
Yeah.
it's both a kind of Buddhist temple and a kung fu school, and I just was like, this is my new home, you know. And at the time, Shi Guolin is the teacher's name. He really didn't speak English very well. He had like a kind of a community of people that helped him out with the classes. And because hosting a Shaolin monk is a gigantic honor in the, you know, in Chinese culture, etc. So blah blah blah. So the deal was that I would teach him English and he would teach me kung fu and qigong. So like
Really? Wow.
I got free kung fu lessons and a personal relationship with the master of the temple.
Do you
So
still
correspond.
know him? Yeah.
Oh, you know, we haven't in a while. We used to a bit, and I just kind of sort of moved on with my life. But I guarantee you, he's like an old friend. If I were to show up at his door, he'd be like, "Dano, oh, so good to see you again. Sit down, have tea. We do
Yeah,
kung
yeah.
fu together. Talk about Buddhism. You know." So like you've been.
Yeah, that reminds me of when I used to go do Thai boxing, and you know how I said I was always on and off, and that
Yeah,
from
yeah,
a young
yeah, yeah,
age.
yeah.
And when I'd turn up, I'd turn up like just out of the blue all the time, just
Uh huh.
randomly, and then
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
walk in, and he'd go, "He was joking, I think so." And he's joking. He goes, "Who you?" Who, like, who are you? I goes,
Yeah, yeah.
"Ah, you want come train?
You want come kickboxing?
You
Yes, yeah,
want
yeah.
come train?" I think because he was always because I was a bit like a Ryu, not in skill. I mean, well, that was pretty good, but you know, like you just take off in the middle of nowhere and then just re-emerge again
Sure,
out of the
totally.
blue.
That's pretty common. I mean, people have lives to live and jobs and kids,
Yeah,
and I mean, it doesn't, you know, life isn't like the movies. You know, you got stuff to do and stuff. You know,
yeah, true.
it's actually pretty amazing that people can even excel in the martial arts because of the time and effort and pain and suffering that is required to be good at it, to take time at it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
even just proficient at it. But so with my piece here, I have these three figures in different martial positions, um, and then I'm using these kind of. This piece is much more abstract than what I usually do. Um, anyway, these sort of circular abstractions here are just kind of trying to illustrate motion, range of motion, types of
Mm-hmm.
motion. Um, a lot. I mean, you know, there's a lot of geometry in martial arts, and
Geometry. What in terms
yes,
of the what the motions of
right,
the
right. You know, like
movements?
angles versus straight lines, circles
Yeah, yeah.
versus angles, da 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 da.
Okay.
And you, while you're doing while you're sparring or fighting or what have you, you're constantly in this kind of chess game where you are kind of calculating that geometry against your opponent,
Uh-huh.
like live in real time. You know, if this person is going to strike straight on, maybe I'm going to triangulate out to the side, and or I will, like, you know, receive it with a certain circular block so that I can, you know,
Mm-hmm.
move the energy away, all that stuff. So this is essentially kind of what that is. Now, in kung fu, there's more, I don't know if esoteric is the word, but kind of what they would call in neigong, or in internal kung fu, where you use the circular motions inside your body, through the mechanics of your joints and your spine. And then there's a whole level of using qigong, qi energy in it and stuff. So this is just sort of a playful abstraction to kind of express those ideas. Let me say
Okay.
hello to some of my friends in the chat. We got my buddy I is here. Hello, all. Donald wanted to tell you
How do? How do?
yeah, I found a Hate Watch SPLC article about you. Oh, lovely. And the White Art Collective, a hit piece, doxing piece. Yeah, I'm flattered. Yeah, you know, I was. This stuff is
Mm.
just what it is. I think if you're not there already, you're not working hard enough, because these are
Yeah.
the people that are running the show to kill whites, to replace us in our own countries, to enslave us through all their tax systems and all these various things. Hippocratic Oath says, da, da, da. Let's see, my channel's here. Everyone was kung fu fighting. Yeah. So that is what it is. And there you go.
Just shout
Now
out, to Steve West on our channel and Lisa in Romford. Hello and welcome. If you're new to these streams, any views on either side of the channel, we've got a dual stream going, obviously, two sides of the pond. But yeah, we are sort of nationalist advocates. We strive to use our creative efforts to promote, white well-being for our people, because our governments don't. And
right.
yeah, so we're just here on the creative scene, and trying to just build creative communities for the good of Europeans and put us in a positive light. And so that's it. And this topic is pretty awesome. I mean, pancration. It's probably a martial art which is one of the least known amongst our people. Everyone's heard of karate. I mean, that kind of started off in the 80s with Karate Kid. I love that film. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then you had the others like Kickboxer and so on. And but karate was the main. And then I think sort of towards the tether end of the 90s, Muay Thai emerged. And I guess really what we can touch on today is we wanted to speak in more detail, didn't we, about pancration. And one thing I was going to delve into is just how influential pancration was in terms of which impact it had on cultures, because I think that it probably influenced some of the Eastern cultures and martial arts as the Greeks migrated out and so on.
Yeah. People have to understand that there was a lot going on the Silk Road. And like, for example, you can find early Buddhist sculptures that are in the Greek style. I mean, a while back you had in Afghanistan, the Taliban blew up gigantic stone statues of Buddhas inside the mountains. I mean, so like there was a lot of interaction in between the East and the West through the Silk Road. People don't even talk about Zoroastrianism. In Persia before Islam, it's Indo-Aryan, Indo-European, etc. There's so much missing history here. I don't mean to cut you off, though. I just find it very interesting.
No worries.
Yeah. But there's a couple of points that you had typed up. Maybe if I can grab the information here. Hold on. You were talking, or there's a section here on military culture.
Yeah. If you want to read that out, and then I'll read the next set, which is literally its influence on other cultures in the East.
Hold on a second here.
At least one of us can be drawing while the other's reading.
Okay. So how pancration contributed to military culture. Combat training for soldiers. Pancration techniques were integrated into the training regiments of Greek soldiers, particularly the Spartans. The combination of striking and grappling made soldiers more versatile and effective in close combat situations, enhancing their overall combat readiness. Interesting. Just a quick aside. It's interesting how movies are the way in which most people learn about these things, martial arts, the Spartans. You know what I mean? It's like, why don't we know about these things just from school? How come we're not taught at an early age about the Spartans, and these
I think, we were aware of wrestling. And I know there was Greco-Roman wrestling, but I think that's as far as it went. I don't think we understood it to be a more kind of diverse or so influential. I think that was reserved for the sort of Eastern cultures, wasn't it?
Perhaps. I mean, I just feel it'd be nice to have an education that was more about Western civilization instead of just individual countries. So moving on, development of tactical skills. The strategic elements of pancration, such as anticipating an opponent's moves and exploiting weaknesses, mirrored battlefield tactics. Very interesting. So perhaps there's a connection between one-on-one battle or combat and how armies interact with each other. Like there's some kind of strategy there. So let's check this out. Sorry, I lost my place. Strategic movies. Soldiers who practiced pancration were better prepared for the unpredictability of war, fostering adaptability and quick decision making. So this goes right back to the discussion in the last show about sparring. Is that sparring? What I think one of the most important things that it trains is how to respond creatively in a chaotic situation. So there's no amount of forms you can do. You know what I'm saying? There's no amount of two-man routines that you can do that can teach you creative problem solving in the moment. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah, of course.
I mean, like MIC martial arts or commercialized martial arts, that's all they do is, you know, you do have to learn the forms. You do have to, you know, that's just the ABCs of it. But why learn the ABCs and never write a book or never have a conversation? Sparring is the conversation. It's a freestyle conversation. So I can see how schools might feel like, oh, well, I'm going to have to take out insurance because someone could get hurt or blah, blah, blah. But sparring is really, it's like such an important dimension of martial arts. So anyway, I think this point makes my point. So moving on, fostering physical and mental toughness. The grueling nature of pancration training built immense physical endurance and mental resilience. That's a whole other side. The kind of the physical side is one thing, but the mental resilience, I think, is a whole other thing. That's what when I talk about getting into sparring and kind of getting into that hot zone, you know, where you're both in really, really working to overwhelm each other, and the fists are flying, and you know, really right in the crucible of the fight, if you will. You know, that to mentally be able to sustain that, I think, is an important skill. This toughness was crucial for soldiers who needed to withstand the harsh conditions of warfare and maintain composure under pressure. There you go. That's quite a lot. Maintaining composure. Interesting. So
when you look at modern MMA fighters, I mean, they're so hardened, battle hardened, mentally tough, you know. Especially they say that you know, wrestlers, I know America are massive on wrestling. We were never big on wrestling in the UK. I mean, it wasn't like some kind of PE sport. We just didn't learn it. We kind of learned football, which is soccer to you guys, and rugby, a bit of tennis maybe, but we never actually learned combative sports in school, which is a shame. And then if you know, parents took their kids somewhere, it was like usually to taekwondo or karate or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have started wrestling from a young age. And I think I was always had a flair for sports. My dad got me doing push-ups and that when I was like 5 years old, because he was big into his gym, and he used to do this thing called the Kronker lift, where he used me as a weight. You know, me and my brother.
That's good fathering right there. That's what that is.
Yeah. So you know, and we used to go out jogging. So you know, that was one thing, I guess, one of the few things we bonded over as a child when I was a child. But it's something that stuck with me, and I guess shaped, you know, identity. And you know, it's always something I I think if you foster, a kind of an athletic sentiment from an early age, it's definitely a good thing because, for one, I think it builds an underlying template of physique. To get
You're
back
right.
to get your fitness back, I think it's a lot easier. Whereas if you only just started training sort of into your 20s, early 20s, you missed out on a whole load of sort of growth and natural development. And
I
another
totally
thing
agree.
is like it being here in Romania, right?
Yeah.
These people are constantly working with their bare hands and
Mm.
really laboring. And you can see how their bone structure of their fingers and their wrists and that have just developed an extra thick set because they're
Yeah.
constantly doing it. So it's almost like that fitness and so
Yeah.
in our generation now of computers and
Yeah.
white collar jobs, I think we've
Right.
definitely become softer than our ancestors would have been in
Yeah. Yeah. I'm afraid we're gonna end up looking like gray aliens in 100 years or something.
gray
Like
aliens.
we'll lose the evolution. Will take away our pinky fingers, and we'll get shorter, and our eyes will get really big, and all that stuff.
Yeah, and we just feed on sunlight or something.
I don't know. I don't know. Electromagnetic energies or something.
Yeah,
Or no, or eating
you never
bugs.
know.
They wanted us to eat the bugs, so that'll be our
So
diet.
of the what I'm doing now is just applying some base level shadow for
Mm-hmm.
anyone who's interested in what I'm doing. I kind of do that, play with the levels. I may add a bit of a just a filter of vivid light,
Mm-hmm.
and then I choose at the end what kind of shadow. This is like a go-to kind of technique for me. It's called cell shading,
Yeah.
and then I do a highlight afterwards. But I just start with the blue because it's just a nice shadow-based color that
I
can
I
sit
I
well
like that.
over.
That's nice. Yeah. I mean, and when you're working with blue as your base shadow color, you can
Yeah,
add oranges over top in layers
yeah,
to
exactly.
create so like orange and blue are opposites on the color wheel. And this is art
Yes,
talk here. So
that's
when you
complementary colors, isn't it? Yeah,
yes, yeah, when you overlap or mix orange and blue, they neutralize each other. So you get a kind of sophisticated color, I suppose. And you can change tone and shadow and stuff. It's just from an artist's perspective, it's a really cool way to work.
yeah,
It's enjoyable.
yeah. It's definitely something to take advantage of the sort of cool shadows and then have warmer
Mhm.
highlights.
Yeah, yeah.
And it just works. It's just a go-to method I kind of learned.
Hmm.
Um,
Right, right, right.
and it's quite easy to just quick to get the volumes that you want, the volume of a
Hmm.
form by focusing on where the shadows are and then adding
Hmm.
a few highlights. It can really get a 3D form straight off the bat.
Mm-hmm. I when I was doing more oil painting, I would start off with like a brown tone, which is a kind of neutral earth tone. But then
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I like I am now actually, but then I tried other colors like a midnight blue or
Hmm.
alizarin crimson or a pine green. And when
Okay.
let's say if you're using a pine green background, for example, and you're pulling the colors and the forms out of it, it's just different. It has like a bang to it. Like the midnight blue, it almost looks like black, kind of like a velvet painting, like that.
Okay.
Um, and
So
but
you get a different mood as well, don't you,
yes,
from
yeah,
that?
that's kind of what I'm trying to get to here is that the mood that you get from it is really interesting. Let's see. I'm trying to check out some of the check out some of the comments here. We were talking about movies, so like here's one of the debates that I've had with other martial artists is like okay, let's say you watch martial arts movies and you think, oh, that's so cool, I want to do martial arts, and then you go to a school and you learn the stuff and blah blah blah. But so like the movies, they lead you to the school where you or the system where you learn the stuff, but then
Hmm.
is your mind kind of locked up in this movie fantasy, of like, I want to be Jet Li, that kind of like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
or do you let it go and do you mature and realize, oh, that's just the movies, that's for show, that's choreography, it is kung fu or taekwondo or whatever it might be, but it's still theatrical, right? And then, and do you grow up and move on, or like what are your thoughts on that? Would you say that there's a lot of people that are kind of stuck in like the power fantasy mentality?
Um, how do you mean exactly? I don't quite.
So like I've met, gosh, dozens of people in different martial arts schools that
Hmm.
kind of come off as like they're almost like the star of the movie in their head,
All right.
and
Okay.
they're obsessed with Bruce Lee, or they're obsessed with just martial arts movies, and Tony Jaa or this or that.
Yeah,
And
I think you definitely get those people that are a bit delusional.
that's sort of what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think most people when I've trained, most people that I've known tend to just see it as a means to get fit, and
Okay.
I've not really come across people that has gone to their heads and they think they're gonna, do be some next Chuck Norris or anything. But
I
I'm
suppose
sure you do get those people.
I am thinking of one particular guy, but that was the debate. Is like, are martial arts movies good or bad for people who for the martial arts in say the
No,
UK
I
or
would say
America?
overall they've been quite good.
Okay.
I think they inspire you to maybe want to be a bit more masculine,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and
Oh
be
my
able
God.
to
Yeah.
defend yourself.
Big time.
So I would say, yeah, I used to watch them, and I remember because I was even into performing arts. I used to watch these stuff, and I used to kind of like role play in my head and just like punch the
Sure.
fist in the air. And I
Sure.
remember like I'd be standing on my bed and like pretending to put my arm around like the woman, at the end, and be like, yeah. I mean, this was back when I was like 21, so no,
You get the
I was a bit
girl.
younger than that. I was
The
a bit
good guy
younger than
gets
that.
the girl. There you go. So I mean, I would say overall it's good. It's in a sense it markets the martial arts. It introduces people to it. Once
Hmm.
you're in it, you just hopefully you got a good school and a good teacher. That's about it. I knew this one guy at this school who was kind of the poster child for the other side of the argument. He was this like massive, just like this overbearing kind of egomaniac type guy, and he kind of had like a cartoon. Really, it's more about the person, I would imagine. Then it's not
Yeah.
the movies so much as it's the personality. He treated people like cartoons. Like he'd hit you really hard, really really hard. He'd knock out people in sparring, and
Really.
these would be people that are like clearly smaller than him. He was like a weightlifter as well, like a big bodybuilder type guy, huge ego. And it just everybody was like annoyed with him, and the teacher of the school basically had like gave this guy a position as like a an assistant instructor, but he didn't pay the guy, and the guy just did it out of his ego, like, yeah, I'm an assistant instructor, yeah, da, 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 da. And he would,
Yeah.
the teacher of the school is kind of a scumbag, to be honest, as well. So I mean, not paying this guy, just he knew enough to use his ego to get free work out of him.
Yeah.
So like, people are people. I mean, there's good people and bad people out there. So if
I
you're,
think I think also like it depends on who comes in. I mean, there's times where I remember I was probably a bit too hard on other guys that were less experienced, but I was conditioned that way. Like I think I might have mentioned that there was guys that I trained with from the beginning that used to brutalize you in sparring, and
yeah,
they'd really kind of hurt you at times.
yeah, yeah.
And it kind of conditioned you though to be alert, and I guess in some ways you'd pay it forward, uh, you know.
You do have to know how to get hit and keep going. You know what I mean? It's not, it's martial arts. It's like for example, imagine if they didn't tackle in football, like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
gotta, you gotta hit people, you gotta get hit,
yeah.
but I
It's,
think there's a difference between like helping someone and hurting someone, though. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. I mean, you're not gonna go full out, but sometimes you have to humble other people. I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if there's some people that
Yes.
are flaunting their power too much or going too hard,
Right, right, right.
um, you know, it's competitive as well. It's you know,
Yeah.
it's
So
not just there to look good. I think
since you
you
said
have to
that,
you have to
I'll
go hard. You have to go
since
hard
you
sometimes. And
since since you said that, I'll tell the rest of the story. So there's this kind of younger guy, very thin sort of guy. It's like a guy with a lot of problems, but a very nice guy. And he was, he'd help out at the school. And this bully instructor knocked him out really badly, like during a
really,
supposed
wow.
sparring session. And it was definitely excessive force. So I got in there and sparred the instructor who I'm talking about, and
Hmm.
just like so the master of the school like came in and stopped me because he's like, oh, this is slow
Did
down,
you almost
like that
drill
kind of
the
thing.
guy?
Well, I had to like ring his bell because I'm like, dude, you have to know how it feels. Like, you're bullying people, and like this is shit behavior. Stop doing
Yeah,
this. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not. And so, I kind of talked to him afterwards.
Humbled by the Mr. Kent.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes you gotta be Batman. Sometimes you gotta
Yeah, yeah.
step
No,
up.
I
I'm not.
agree.
I'm not that guy. I don't like make it my point to do such things. But at the time, being in this school and seeing what was happening, I had to kind of. And then I spoke to the guy afterwards about, like, dude, this is what's going on. Like, for starters, you're being manipulated. You're working for free. Like, do you see that? Like, don't let someone do that to you. And secondly, like, chill out, man. You know what I mean? Like, kind of just focus on yourself. Don't worry about. You don't have anything to prove to anybody. Just
Yeah,
calm
yeah.
down. So
Mhm.
anyway, there's a story there, kind of an interesting story. But
Let's get to some other points.
all right.
So yeah, this is how while Pancratian's direct influence on Eastern cultures is less documented compared to its impact on Western civilizations, there are still notable ways in which the martial art may have indirectly influenced Eastern martial traditions, especially through cultural exchanges and the blending of combat techniques. So in India, influence through Alexander the Great. During his
Mm,
campaign into India, Alexander the
mm,
Great brought Greek culture and martial practices with him.
wow.
This included pankration, which could have influenced Indian martial arts such as
Hmm.
Kalaripayattu and
Yes.
Malayuddha. The
Then,
exchange of martial techniques between
sorry.
Greek and Indian warriors likely
Right.
contributed to the evolution of Indian martial arts. Yeah, so what have you got to
Yeah.
say about that?
Oh, just that there actually are some great Indian martial arts out there. Um, the Sikhs have a very, very cool martial art. Probably people have heard of the Gurkhas. The British
Yeah,
actually employed them in India. There's like the famous Gurkha knife.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. I've heard of them.
it's an interesting topic because um, I would venture to say that China is influenced by some Indian martial arts as well, because if you think of Bodhidharma coming from India to Shaolin Temple, and then
Hmm.
being kind of I mean, I guarantee you he didn't teach the whole system of Shaolin. It's just the legend goes, that he brought A, B, C, D, F, G, which he did historically, but you know, over time. It became like a martial arts university where people would bring their systems. The point I'm making is that the Chinese would never want to admit that their martial arts come from India. But if you
No,
do, if you do these kind of like studies and you look at how a certain move is done, for example, if you look at Fujian crane and Okinawan karate, you can clearly see, that karate came from China. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
just an interesting topic, but countries have a lot of pride, you know, in their stuff, and they don't want to admit that it came from somewhere else. Like I recently
Yeah.
found out that there was no kicking in karate until a certain point in time where it was taken from French savate. That you know,
Really? Wow.
yeah. There's actually a French guy online who he has like a martial arts YouTube, you know, and he's a kind of a funny guy. He's a neat guy, and he shows the history of that. He's a pretty hardcore karateka. Like he's somebody who, you know, he's very deeply committed to karate, and so he would know that. I don't know if he runs his own school. He probably does, but anyway, interesting history there.
Yeah,
So
interesting.
yeah, did
We've got
indeed.
another one, Central Asia.
Okay.
Hellenistic influence. After Alexander the Great's conquest, the Hellenistic kingdoms in Central Asia, such as the Greco-Bactrian and Indo-Greek kingdoms, served as cultural melting pots, where Greek and Eastern martial traditions could interact. This cross-pollination of techniques from pancreation with local combat styles may have influenced the development of regional martial arts. So yeah, I think definitely as the you know, Alexander the Great, a lot of the Greeks spread far and wide, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
and it would have been very likely that pancreation would have been adopted and incorporated into these arts, and I think over time they would have actually got a bit more specialized and specific. Like some cultures and
Sure.
art forms would have focused on the striking, like you say. Karate probably was more you know, fist and that orientated
Yes,
with
yes.
punching if they didn't
Right,
have
right.
kicks. And so, you know, that was one way it kind of became more singular. And then over time, we come to today where we're back to mixed martial arts as as a necessity for general combat.
It's
So, yeah,
interesting just to see how it evolves. You know, I think the evolution of these things is quite fascinating. Um, what I was surprised to learn years ago when I started out is that, for example, you know, when I hear like say praying mantis style, oh wow, cool, I want to learn that. Well, which one do you want to learn? Well, what are you talking about? Well, you know, so you know, there's several versions of it that, you know, different families would have over centuries, you know. And so like I used to spar a teacher of a praying mantis school, and it was really enjoyable, you know, to kind of go into his school just privately with him and and we'd do our sparring together. But like previously I used to spar a guy from Vietnam who was also a praying mantis stylist, but his praying mantis style was totally different, like completely different, and it was way harder. It was had sort of more of like a tiger style energy
right,
to it,
okay,
like very painful. Like, you know,
can
the
imagine.
training is extremely painful, and like getting hit is extremely painful. And so, you know,
To be honest, anything to do with praying mantis is scary. I mean, they're probably the most coldest
yeah,
insects. You know,
yeah,
the way
yeah,
they just
very
devour
brutal.
their prey and just
Very brutal.
down on.
Yeah, you see, you bring up a good point, because this is what's interesting about these animal styles, is that you're supposed to embody the spirit of the animal. So if you
Right.
think
Okay.
about how sort of merciless they are, you know, that kind of gives you a sense of it.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know much about it. I've only sparred guys in that system, so I can't say that I know, you know, the system at all. But fun stuff, though. A lot of fun.
Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's get another one. We've got China. Silk Road exchanges. I think you've touched on that a little bit.
Yes. Yes.
The
Yes.
Silk Road facilitated extensive cultural exchanges between the East and West, including martial arts. While
Mm-hmm.
direct evidence of pancreation influence in Chinese martial arts like Kung Fu is scarce, the exchange of combat knowledge and techniques along these trade routes could have allowed for some degree of influence. Yeah, so just logically speaking,
Yeah.
the chances are that, you know, that there would have been some
Sure,
interest on either side, and
sure.
you know, as people just have a, you know, find common ground, and if they're trading together, I think that the likelihood is that they would, when people met who had similar interests, they probably would have exchanged ideas. If they're exchanging goods and services, why wouldn't they?
Well, the family that kicks together sticks together. No. that's like a martial arts marketing slogan in America. They have, you know, like, sign up the whole family today. Joe's kickboxing karate school. The family that kicks together sticks together. But
Nice.
yeah, it's interesting stuff. And you got to imagine a lot of that was highly secretive as well. So there's probably no records, I suppose, of like, you know,
True.
where
Yeah.
did this come from? I mean, maybe not. Actually, that's. I know that, you know, kung fu schools keep extremely good records of like their lineage, but usually they're all Chinese people. You know, Joe Schmo from Greece that I met on the Silk Road or whatever. It's not likely to happen. But Bruce Lee had an interesting comment. I don't know if he stole this from somebody or he came up with it, but you only have 2 arms and 2 legs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's an interesting point that's like, you know, there's only so much that can be done. I think there's, even though there might be hundreds and hundreds of techniques and such, you know, as long as human beings only have 2 arms and 2 legs, then this is kind of what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think there's only so many moves that you can think to do, and I think that's maybe why people end up doing like the animal techniques, 'cause it's like, where can we draw influence from, you know? And a lot of the animal maneuvers are.
Yeah, I don't know all of the animal styles.
I think my am I sharing my screen? I think you've knocked me off.
Oh, what happened? Let's see what I can do here. Hold on a sec. Maybe I have to invite you back on. How did that happen? Let's go to.
I've presented still.
Well, okay. It says remove from stage, which would mean that you're still on stage.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. Should I? I'll take you off stage, and then there you are again, and I'll
bring
add
it
you to
back.
stage. And
there we are, and then just switch it back. Switch the.
Well, I'll change the layout a little bit, but I want my audience to see your work in more close-up detail, because there's a lot there to see and enjoy.
Okay.
And you're doing some real nice work there, so gives, you know,
Okay,
enlarging the screen on my end is just helpful, so they can enjoy that for a bit.
Yeah, well, I'm just
nice. Yeah.
Right. Merge two layers together.
All right, let's go back to the layout. I think that might be it. Okay. Anyone in the chat have any questions or comments? I think that could be an interesting thing to engage here. Hippocratic Oath says, movies are a centralized form of education. Our male-only clubs and institutions are demonized, where a certain tribe can be excluded. Let's see, what's this here? Can't remember who said it. Might have been Ted Nugent, but the quote went something along the lines of, if you're not on a list, you should be ashamed. That's referring to something earlier. We got Mike Smith is here. Hey, Mike, strike first, strike hard, so mercy, no mercy, sir. So there's a phrase in Kung Fu that's, again, I don't know if it's exclusive to Kung Fu, but they say that a strike should be felt before it is seen. And I think that's an interesting concept, you know. And that obviously has something to do with speed. But I also feel that it has a lot to do with like technique or strategy. There's ways that there's techniques you can use that are kind of oblique or deceptive. Something I use a lot in sparring is what I would call a corkscrew punch, So it
Okay.
kind of looks like a hook coming across, but then changes into a straight
Ah,
punch coming out like that.
a bit like
And
a question mark kick, is it?
you could call it that. That's a fairly good kind of analogy there. Um, my sparring partner, I landed that on him, and he was like, "Oh, that's so cool! You know what did you do there?" Da da da. So we'd kind of stop for a minute, and I'd go over it. And the thing is, people, you can telecast a what do you call it, a hook, kind of like a broad ranged hook, a haymaker is really what I'm trying to say, and people see it coming, so naturally they're going to put their arm up to block it, but that's when you do the old switcheroo. Woo-hoo.
Switch it up.
Yeah, how do you like them
Yeah.
apples?
Yeah, do my sparring, that's for sure. So you got some. Be nice to get see you get a bit of blue in that. Some kind
Well,
of
I've got some green down here. It's kind of more earth colors. I'm
gun.
trying to do a little bit of color contrast, red and green, and then play off it a bit with like warm and cool colors. But I feel like I need to go in with some harder black lines to like pop out the characters. They're kind of fading into this abstraction here. It's a bit messy.
Yeah, pull them off, make them pop a bit
Yeah,
more.
maybe I'll pop that out now just to help make it read.
So we've
But
got
yeah,
Japan.
yeah.
Just a couple more now. Indirect influence through Chinese martial arts. Any influence of pancreation on Chinese martial arts could have indirectly affected Japanese martial arts, especially given Japan's historical absorption and adaptation of Chinese cultural and martial practices. Techniques in Japanese martial arts, such as jiu-jitsu and judo,
Yeah, yeah.
which focus on grappling and submission, bear a conceptual resemblance to aspects of pancreation. Do you
Hmm.
what's your knowledge of the samurai as well? Because I mean, I
More.
think that
Go ahead.
no, I was going to say that I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of the migrations of Indo-Europeans which helped to that would have had some kind of intermingling with the Japanese. I'm sure there's some branch offs of tribes which look very distinctly European and less sort of traditionally Japanese, if you know what I mean. Bit some more
There's
remote tribes.
there's a people called the Jomon people, Jomon,
Yeah.
and they are you could probably say that they might have immigrated from Russia, from Siberia.
Okay.
They in Japanese history. Remember, I lived in Japan for a year. Was really interested in its history. Uh, da da da. So they were the indigenous people of Japan, which indicates that maybe the Japanese immigrated from Korea. So no
Okay.
Japanese person would agree to that. They're they got their whatever. So like my limited knowledge on the topic, I know that these Jomon people that they were persecuted and pushed back and like their numbers faded and faded and faded over time. So
Okay.
like they mostly live in Hokkaido, which would be the northernmost island. I think the Japanese referred to them as the bear people, like they used to have these bear skins and such, which is
Really?
interesting
Wow.
how that ties with the Russians, but I don't, I think that might be just coincidental. I'm not sure. Anyway, this is, we're talking prehistory stuff. So they wouldn't, I don't believe that they would have had any contact with the Silk Road. They were very primitive.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's anything that might have come to Japan through China is more likely to be linked to the Silk Road and Western culture of any kind. So that's that.
Hmm.
Here's another interesting thing: the Yellow Emperor. So, is anyone familiar with the Yellow Emperor? Our buddy Robert Seffer did a report on that.
Robert
So
Sapper, hey?
yeah, do you know who I'm talking about, Robert
Yeah,
Seffer?
I know Robert Sapper.
Okay,
Well, I don't
so
know him personally, obviously, but
yeah, we're
I
buddies.
know.
We went to school together. No, But yeah, he's a bit controversial in our spheres. I do not, at this point, I don't think he is subversive, but I can't say for sure. He does do a lot of amazing work on the history of white culture in ancient times through
Yeah, yeah,
archaeological studies. So it's definitely science based, archaeologically based information. Blah blah blah.
yeah. I mean,
We're making
he's set against the Out of Africa story, that's for sure.
so one. If you look him up, you'll see he has a video on the Yellow Emperor. So the according to like Chinese legend, the Yellow Emperor is kind of like the father of China. Like he, laid down all the. This is what the Chinese do. They like attribute everything in history to one person. Like Taoism is from Lao Tzu, and no, Lao Tzu just means old teacher. It's not even a name. And and it's probably something that accumulated by many scholars over hundreds of years. Anyway, the Yellow Emperor is this guy that according to Robert Seffer, was most likely Aryan Scythian. Then the yellow referred to his hair, not like
Hmm.
so because yellow is the color of the emperor. And in olden times, only the emperor could wear yellow. If you were caught wearing yellow, you'd be killed. Like this was one of
Really?
their things.
Wow.
But anyway, he's stating that no, the yellow refers to his hair. And then there's all these what do you call them, mummies that they have in China that are red-haired,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Scythians and such. So I
Would you say this is pre-Hellenistic culture,
very much,
or
very very much like
right? Yeah,
yeah, we're going way back. So that doesn't really tie into the Silk Road and the martial arts is what we're talking about, but it's relevant. I think it's interesting anyway. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the Chinese or whatever that they've accomplished, but I do think that what's important, the kind of the takeaway, is that we have to recognize that our people have been around and been influencing other land regions, other cultures for a
a
very,
long
very
time.
long time. And our history is obviously being obscured. So it's really important for us to find out about those things.
Oh, of course. I mean, even I don't think people realize how far Britain goes back. I mean, the tin
Oh
trade,
yeah,
for example,
yeah.
the tin trade was, I think, was part of the Silk Road as well. And you that was the Pillars of Hercules, for example.
Okay.
There's so much trade going up through the Mediterranean, and the tin was
Mm-hmm.
taken from Britain and transported all the way down the Tyrrhenian Sea
Mm.
towards the Middle East, because they
Mm.
didn't have tin there, and
Mm.
it must have all come from offshores. And so
Wow,
yeah, there's a lot of connections
it's
bridging
fascinating.
the ancient Britain. You're probably thinking talking 2000 BC.
Wow.
So Britain has always been a big sort of mining
Hmm.
land. It's
Hmm.
been very rich in mineral and resource.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. You can see how controlling someone's history is a way of controlling those people, and like
Yeah, yeah,
sort
for
of
sure.
stopping them from learning who they are. So like, for example, being put on a list because you're trying to promote the culture of your people, which is a totally non-violent behavior, you know is like, but to be like demonized for that and intimidated for that itself is a kind of terrorism. You see what I'm saying? It's a psychological, cultural terrorism. And that's communism, that's Marxism, that's everything that we've been fighting against for how long. So,
Yeah.
you know even you can't even talk about your own art and history and culture without being put on a fucking list. So you know what I'm
A
saying?
bit bit of extra anger came out there.
Oh,
You just
I
couldn't.
just tossed in a little, like rib jab right there, and
Yeah,
little
I
martial
felt that
art
one. I
words.
felt it.
Yeah, right. It's kind of just a tiny little shin kick. No, anyway, um, I in a weird way, I'm starting to actually feel sorry for those people because they have a very profound paranoia, a deep,
Who's
deep.
this?
The little hats,
Right. Okay.
the people that put us on lists, like those people.
Well,
Um,
it's our own people as well, isn't it? It's the. I mean,
oh
look at
yeah,
our
I mean,
governments.
well,
What's
our
going off
people.
with
Go ahead.
I mean, for example, just you've got in our governments now. So a lot of this knowledge is coming from Mark's feeds that I kind of just bring up. But basically, Richie Sunak and Conservatives, they're
Hmm.
because they know that they're not going to win.
Yeah.
They've called for a more expedient election so that
Yeah.
the Labour are more likely to win the majority seats and giving less time for smaller parties
Charming.
to
Yeah.
get
Lovely.
into power. So
Sure.
it's a swift maneuver, and then you've got the likes of Keir Starmer, who's just another stooge for the World Economic Forum. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's pretty.
Well, I mean, I always feel like those are the puppets of the big of the small hats. You know what I'm saying? So like even though our people are paranoid, it's because they're scared I mean, these people have power. They threaten us. And so our paranoia is different. That it's like this kind of like psychological terror that the little hats put us under. They actually have real power behind it. They can fabricate fake charges, and they can ruin your reputation. They can get you fired, da 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 da, on and on and on. I mean, we all pretty
Mm,
much know how it works. But like, if we were not infiltrated and we're totally in control of our own countries, I don't think that we would have this. Maybe there would be some kind of mafia or something. There would be some corruption somewhere. I don't know, perhaps, but it's not us. It's an outside foreign force that is pushing in
mhm,
on us. So, but my point I simply was just making is that, like, these people need psychological and spiritual care. They need some kind of help to stop this terrible fear that they live under. I mean, look at how deep and wide their systems of control are. They it's like the Samson option, for example, that if Israel were to get defeated, that they would blow off all their nuclear weapons and destroy the whole world. Like,
what is an active
we
spy?
it's yeah it's an actual
I wouldn't be
policy.
surprised.
It's an actual policy that anyone
Is
can
it
look it up.
really
The Samson option, look it up. So
the
what it
Samson option?
yeah,
Wow.
imagine if, like, America lost a war and then they said, okay, if we're going down, you're all going down, and then destroy the whole planet. Like, that is suicide bomber on a
That is
freaking satanic level. You know what I'm talking? That's heavy. And I mean, that's the
yeah,
enemy
that
of the
is
planet right there. That's the enemy of the human race. To have
that's
that.
the kind of thing you see in those films, isn't it? Where they just press
Yeah.
that big red button
Yeah, yeah.
and they're
The
desperate
Samson
for it.
option. Yeah, look it up. This is so,
I never knew
like,
that.
people that are that suicidal need help. I mean, I know that we're angry at them and we have a right to be angry, but ultimately, how is this thing ever going to get fixed? And, like, I don't know if these people could somehow find some type of peace. And it's never, I don't think it's tenable, because, like, their ideology is that they're supposed to be the masters of the world. They want to enslave everybody. They don't even think we're human. So how do we, how do you interact with people like that? I don't know. Let's check out some chat here. Splattercat says, crap, I missed most of the stream. Hope you're doing well, both of you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Guy.
My buddy from Spain is here. Good to have you there. Carlo is here. Imagine if we threatened with such option. Yeah, like how is it that any country, like if India had that policy, it would be an issue around the whole world. It'd be like, okay, India is threatening to kill the entire planet, like to annihilate all living things on Earth. We'd better have a conference. We better talk about that. But Israel can have it, and nobody bats an eyelash.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never heard of that, to be honest. So
yeah, it's out there.
Yeah.
It's out there.
Yeah.
But anyway, how did we get on the Samson option? I don't know.
I don't know. Where were we before?
This is get us back on track. The Silk Road, yes.
I think that was something to do with that Silk Road.
Yeah. There's probably books out there that talk through like the history of martial arts and where things come from and all that. I would nerd out on that. I would totally enjoy something like that.
Yeah. So maybe let's talk a little bit about health and wellness then.
Yeah, there you go.
How's your fasting going? And what general approach?
I've discovered my Achilles heel, I guess, if you will.
Yeah. What's that?
Like, how do I put this? I guess what we would call like life's little curveballs is kind of what I so like every once in a while you get like maybe you get hit by a big bill or there's something that happens in your life that is upsetting or throws you off course. And then you kind of lose your center, and then you're like, shit. And then you have to kind of start over from there. You know what I mean? So I feel like eating people, how do I put this? Like, a lot of times people eat just for comfort and like, you know what I'm saying? Like that. I think that's
I know exactly. I mean, to be honest, while I'm here in sort of living in a village, there's really not too much to do at the moment. And while we're still here, the wife is very focused. I mean, I do my general day job, working remotely, but the wife's life is a lot centered around the animals, and people don't realize how it's nice to have the fresh foods and everything, but it takes so much work.
Oh yeah.
And your life revolves around them. And to be honest, food is just one of those things that you can kind of have a little pick-me-up or a little treat.
Yeah.
Because you can't really, living in the village, you can't just say like, I'm going to go to this bar or this, go to the pub and have a quick drink and go catch up with this fella or this person or going to go.
It's like smoking in a way, like people sort of do it just to kind of get a momentary relief from something. You know what I'm saying? And it's because discipline is literally the opposite of that. It's grinding through time, in such a way as to be, to get a benefit of some kind. So, if I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to eat. I'm going to eat at this time. And that will fit into my day because I have to do a lot of shit at this time and I'm blah, 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 blah. But then, sorry, your schedule just got fucked up. Okay, now you can't eat the way you wanted to, and now you got to somehow manage through this thing. And damn, I'm starving right now, and I got to face this thing at work. And shit, I'm gonna just have a drive through, or I'm gonna have a snack.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
It's so tempting.
Life is just. Shit just changes all the time, and you can be as straight as an arrow, but life doesn't cooperate that way. You know what I'm saying? So
no, I know it's
that's the fight. Right?
It's hard, but I think building momentum. It's you have to say no to yourself enough times, and find other things. So basically, I've not had any processed sugar for the past. Maybe had little traces of it, but. I've not kind of nom 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 down on a treat that I shouldn't really that I know is working against my goal. So every time I've kind of really had the impulse or craving, I've just had some natural honey. We've got a lot of natural honey.
I love honey. I'm totally about honey.
We had we helped one of the locals up here farm the bees and extract it and the whole process, which is quite a good experience actually. He gave us loads of honey for helping out.
That's marvelous.
And
wow.
And yeah, I mean, have you ate it as well? Like actually from the like break it off from the honeycomb, sort of the waxed, it's like a waxed board that they form.
I love it. Yeah, I know what you're talking
and
about.
you chew down on it, and it's like the most juiciest chewing gum for about 30 seconds, and it's just a throb of natural pure.
I know you almost
honey,
get a high from
and
it,
then
actually.
and then you kind of chew it down until it's like a small kind of clump of wax in your mouth, and then you just spit the wax out. Yeah, it's so tasty, but
it's wonderful. Yeah, there's in the summer there's a kind of farmers market near where I live, and there's a husband-wife team that have their own like bee farm, I guess. So I usually try to go there and you know, patron those guys. They keep inviting me to their house, and I keep saying I'm gonna come over, and I just somehow I don't kind of manage to do it. But it just would be a cool thing to do on my own at some point, you know. So that goes back to the topic I was getting at about like organizing your life, you know, and having some kind of control, like. You know what I mean? Like just try to get a schedule set up where everything works, and you don't have those stupid curveballs, you know, that throw you off track and shit. But not everyone's that lucky, you know. Not everyone's that lucky.
No, yeah, I mean it's building habits. You know, and it's like that classic analogy of the, you know, there's two wolves, and which one do you feed?
Oh my God,
you know,
yeah.
It's and the more you feed the one wolf, the more that wolf grows, and the harder it is to feed the other wolf, you know. So I mean, I haven't managed to even get into my a kind of a regimented workout schedule at the moment either, but for now I've started the healthy eating, and then I will look to start doing regular exercises. Have you heard of in fact a friend of mine said about it recently? It's called one sec, let's bring up our, I'll have to go back to our chats. It's called I will let you know. It's called,
my channel says mix honey with frankincense. That sounds like a fascinating idea. Interesting. So
yeah, it's called, sorry, here we are.
Okay.
Which I don't know what the name is. It's like it's a type of stretching, but it's called animal something. Sorry, what were you saying? I'll get the name at some point.
So the one thing that I am doing is that I'll take a few days a week just to eat vegetarian, and you know, I'm not a full-time vegetarian, but I'll try to go, you know, not every other day, but like I'll do a day or two, and or like if let's say I have a little bit of meat in the morning, I'll just have like vegetarian food for the rest of the day. I know that there's a lot of disagreement on this topic. This is specific to my particular health issues, so that's just what it is. You know, it's something
vegetarian.
Yeah.
So how many days are you doing that?
Again, it's not locked in. You know, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's sort of like, okay, I haven't been to the store yet. I got to do some shopping. What's in the fridge? Okay, I can do this, this, and this. Okay, I gotta and like I was saying in the last show, you have to plan ahead. You have to kind of like whatever day you got off, like a Sunday or something, say, okay, this is when I'm going to the grocery store. I'm getting my stuff set up, and then maybe do a little cooking ahead of time, put it in packages, just little things like that. That it does take some time, but I mean, your health is important. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
it's something
Sure.
you gotta set aside some time with. And so there you go, Joe.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I towards the end of last year, I really got down hard on the sort of keto and to some extent
Okay.
carnivore
Yeah.
diet, and it's quite hard to do, but did see some very good results. I was eating sort of steak every day. We had a local
Oh,
guy at the village slaughterer.
okay.
He's always selling meat, so we had
Hmm.
cow. So I was having regular beef
Wow.
and eggs, and yeah, I mean, no, actually, I had a bit of fruit, melon. It was it's
Oh,
sort of at the end of summer,
dude.
so melon was still juicy, and
Yeah.
so yeah, it was kind of I just stuck to poultry, raw milk,
Mhm.
steak, and
Okay.
various meats. But I'd have my exception was certain types of fruit, not
Okay.
vegetables, because
Yeah.
um, well, I don't know. I've done some reading. Apparently, vegetables aren't necessarily the best for you, but fruits are better. They're more designed to be eaten.
Right.
They've got the natural sweetness and fiber, whereas vegetables are I think more likely to be more damaging to the body than fruits are.
Oh.
I
Um.
don't know. I mean, there's so many mixed kind of
Right. I'm
there's so
not a
many mixed
nutritionist, but
opinions, and it's hard to know what exactly is
well, so
the
like
truth.
I went to a nutritionist. Oh, I don't know, maybe 6, 8 months ago, and my insurance doesn't cover it, so I paid out of pocket. It was expensive, and I had been doing a lot of research on the internet already about my particular health needs,
Mm-hmm.
and she was, there was some value to what she told me. Some of it contradicted things that I had learned online, and I'm not saying the internet has all the right answers. There were some things that I told her that she didn't know about. And I'm like,
Really?
why the hell am I paying you all this money? I so the problem is that it's just so hard to know for sure. I mean, some things you can know, but
Yeah, yeah.
there's just a
Well,
lot of
I think the best way is to try it and see how your body reacts on it. I mean, for
that's a good
myself,
point. Yeah.
that diet I did was really effective, and
Okay.
I coupled it with regular fasting. I'm still doing fasting at the moment. Like I won't
Okay.
eat breakfast. First meal would
Okay.
be about 12:30, 1, and then
Okay.
I try not to eat in late into the evening. So today I'm actually
Yeah.
fasting until
Yeah.
next day tomorrow, and I find
Okay.
that as a massive help. You know, if you let your body
Yeah.
digest its food fully and then just feel that bit of hunger, apparently it's really good for you, like very good for you. Like
Definitely.
it's kicks in and anti-aging enzymes and reactive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we didn't evolve to eat 3 meals a day. I think that's more of
No,
a
no.
marketing thing. And there's just certain things that happen with your body where it goes into a sort of protection mode,
Uh-huh.
when you're fasting. And yeah, it definitely has benefits. There's definitely good benefits to it. So I would say
Yeah.
even spiritually too. I mean, there's certain
Oh,
once you
definitely. Yeah.
yeah, once you pass a certain level where like the pain kind of goes away and your concentration becomes extremely sharp and you feel very light and clear. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's a very nice
I
feeling.
did a 3-day fast once. That's the longest
Wow.
I've
That's a
done,
long
and
time.
and And to be honest, I felt at the end of the third day that I could easily do another day or even two
Yeah.
maybe. I think
Uh-huh.
once you go past that the craving of your body really
All right.
wanting food, the hardest was the second day. And after the
Okay.
second day was completed, it was like, okay, this is I'm not getting them hunger
Interesting.
pains.
That's
But
wild.
yeah, I definitely felt so sharp. I felt mental clarity.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it was good.
I wonder how much your brain sends out like neurological chemicals that are that it's not hunger, but it's something more I guess psychological in a way. Like if you're so used to eating for comfort or happiness or to escape depression, let me repeat that: escape depression. Then hint hint. Then there must be some kind of reaction inside the brain that's like, eat more, because I feel like a lot of the obesity problem that we have has everything to do with loneliness, has everything to do with just general unhappiness with one's life, to feel disconnected, to kind of like living in the
Yeah,
postmodern world. Does that I think that there's a case for that.
I would say, yeah, I think there is, but I think it's a host of a lot of different issues from, from just your social constructs to, like you mentioned before, your lifestyle. You haven't got much time, so you've got to throw something together quick. So no time for eating. I mean, even here, when there's so much, a lot of the time the animals come before, have come before us. So instead of having a fresh meal cooked every day, it's a case of a make do meal. Whilst a lot of the house stuff gets sorted. So there's the social aspect, there's the dopamine aspect of like the pick me up of chocolate. And then there's just the access to it. If you're surrounded by it, it's so much more influential. So I think it's a host of a lot of different reasons why some are addicted to that, addicted to sweets, chocolates, and that more than others.
I know you're a big fan of chocolate, am I right?
I am, yeah. I mean, I've definitely got a sweet tooth, but I'm learning to curb it at the moment. I'm really trying to curb that. And
so my good friend Yiz is in the chat now. Yiz has done martial arts as well. Could you tell us what style you did, how long you did it? Yiz does a great show on Mondays, Discordant Dragons. She's got a bunch of other shows. Every time she's on here, I always want to give her a little plug because she's just one of the the superstars in our sphere. But yeah, I would like to hear a little bit more about your martial art background. Kung Fu for 14 years when young.
Kung Fu for 14 years.
Wow. What system of Kung Fu did you do? I thought you were more like karate. I don't know why I didn't know that. It seems like I should have known that. That'd be interesting to know. And then also, what are your thoughts on sparring? That would be interesting. So just I come across different opinions on the topic. Most of the people that I know think of sparring as they have a different definition of it. They think of it more what I would call sport fighting. So, put your gear on, go into a ring, someone is a referee and then go, and then punch, kick, punch, and then stop. And then, okay, who won? And like, that's not sparring then, let's see, too much to type, can't explain in chat. Sparring is great. Okay. Yeah. That's too, we'd have to have her like on the show. I actually, maybe I could do like a martial arts show and just get a panel of people that, kind of do a sort of a reach out to our community. I know, of course, Luke Mason does it. You do it. Is anybody else? Is there anyone else in the chat that does martial arts or knows anyone in our community that does? That'd be an interesting show to do. But
yeah, it would be.
Well, I feel like I am, for the moment, how art is like it's done for now. I feel like I'm at the done for now zone with this piece.
I'm kind of there with mine as well. Just zoom in. I could add a few textures to this and some bits, but
it's a holiday in America today as well, so I'm going to be going out with my son. It's Memorial Day. where we get to remember all the brothers and sisters that died in unnecessary wars for
Yeah.
bankers.
Yeah, like more will come. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, fair one. So where are we then on the time? It's 1 hour 20. Do we carry on? Do we
I feel like I could probably wrap it up here for myself
yeah,
if that's
that's fine by
agreeable.
me. I tell you what,
Okay.
let's just read the last
Okay.
the last
Let me read that for you. Okay. I didn't
I
know
think
if you.
there's one on let me drop this in the chat. And that was on I'll just drop you this now. I just dropped you that in the chat there.
Do you mean on Telegram or where do you
Yeah,
mean?
Telegram. Can you access that?
Yeah, but I don't see anything new here.
Okay,
Oh.
sorry. I sent it in the wrong chat. Sent it to the group.
Oops.
Oops.
Okay, so Persia. This is it.
Persia.
Sasania and Parthian eras of Persia. During the Hellenistic period and the subsequent rise of the Parthian and Sasanian empires, Greek martial traditions, including pankration, influenced Persian military training and combat sports. Persian warriors and athletes might have integrated some elements of pankration into their own martial practices. While the direct influence of pankration on Eastern martial arts is not extensively documented, the broader exchange of martial knowledge along trade routes and through conquests suggests that elements of this ancient Greek martial art may have found their way into the combat traditions of various Eastern cultures. And there you go. Awesome sauce.
Yes, nothing too new there, but
Yes, indeed. So that's been kind of the sort of the theme, kind of going through the discussion today. Mike Smith says, "My style has the art of fighting without fighting." It's like saying, "Oh, well, that's is that Jeet Kune Do? Are you talking about that, or is there a certain philosophy?" Because I when I'm teaching people martial arts, I say the best way to win a fight is to not be in one, because violence is bad.
running away. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
violence
done that
is
before.
well,
And
I'm not per se saying run away. What I am saying is do every single possible thing that you can to avoid it. If you
yeah,
and knowing martial arts gives you the confidence to do that. See, so like if you consider yourself a peaceful hippie or something, you're not peaceful, you're harmless. You don't have the choice of being peaceful because you don't have the capacity to do violence. You can't defend yourself, therefore you're not peaceful, you're harmless. So when you do martial arts, you're able to negotiate situations, you exude confidence. Believe me, the parasites, the predators, the criminals out there, that's what they do. Like, they have a second sense for this thing. They read you, they watch you, they've got their eye out for who are the weaklings and who are the strong ones. And so if you're, it again, smile, laugh, tell a joke, do anything and everything that you possibly can to avoid violence. There is, of course, the moral side of it, or the ethical side of it, but there's also the legal side. Nobody talks about, you know, what's going to happen afterwards. So they don't show that in the movies, right? So, in the
yeah,
end, you're save yourself, defend yourself, but it's not something you should seek. You should never seek violence. Definitely not. Let me say hello to Alfred, my good buddy. Howdy, folks, stopping in real quick to spread the love. That's my man right there. Hope you all doing well. All hail Trump. Thank you. That's my good buddy there. Yes, knowing to reserve oneself is beat as a first course of action. Well, best as best course of action. So yeah, there's different things that I've done that, where you get guys that openly want to challenge you, like just openly. They're like, they see you and they're like, that's the alpha. I'm going after that guy. And
Yeah.
so you can kind of, you ignore them, and up to a point, where you don't be afraid, don't show fear. But because it's the second you show fear, the second you're
Mhm.
like, the second you cower, anything you do that gives them the slightest signal is giving them the green light. So never, 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 never do that. That you got to know that. That is street smarts 101. So
Definitely.
there's two things. There's one is like you can smile, disarm them, kind of like make a joke, do something funny, compliment them, say something cool, just whatever, something of this nature, and then see how they respond. They might kind of laugh and be like, "Oh, this guy's cool. I'm not gonna give him any trouble," or they might not. You know what I mean? Like, so like
Mhm.
then you go into phase two, and then to phase three, and phase four, and so it's tough. It's not fun. It's not fun. Even last night, I was out at a major dance event, and some big dude came up to me and started just saying dumb things about fighting people, and I'm like, I don't even fucking know you, and why are you talking to me about this particular subject? We're in on the dance floor with like 100 people, 200 people, like everyone's having a good time. Why are you doing this? You know what I'm saying? Like, where does this come from? But those people are out there, they're out there. So what that guy needed was validation. He wanted me to be like, yeah, man, you're cool. You know, give it to him.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
words. They're just words. It's throw a bone. You know what I mean? Give them a snack. Give them the
Hey
dog a
man,
bone.
I wish you were with me in a dangerous bar.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, I didn't. I
I
did
bet your
whatever I
wife
did.
feels safe with you.
Yeah, I mean, don't, for God's sake, don't mock him, or make him the brunt of the joke. Then you'll be getting a knuckle sandwich. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the psychology and the sociology of it, in a sense. And I feel like there's not enough of that in martial arts. People don't. I mean, in Shaolin, they would actually talked about such things. Like the ethics. I asked my teacher. I'll get the magazine out again. So this was my teacher at Shaolin, and this is very hardcore, 34th generation Shaolin master. And
He looks pretty hard.
yeah, yeah. I've seen him
I
smash
could have him though.
bricks across his head, and like I've
I'd
seen
have him any day.
like 10 men charge him with like a telephone pole and not knock him down. I've seen him do crazy things that are like
Really?
superhuman. But
Well,
yeah, anyway, what I lost my point now. Okay, yeah, yeah. So I'm asking him now. He knows that I study Buddhism, so I'm not offending or challenging him, but in class I said, how do you rectify like Buddhism's teachings of nonviolence with teaching kung fu? Like, we're learning to maim and kill people. Isn't that against Buddhism? And then he said, if Shaolin didn't exist and we didn't have kung fu martial arts, the teachings of Buddhism would have died long, long, long ago. China has had like hundreds of civil wars, and Shaolin has
yeah.
survived all of them for like 2,000 years or so. And of course, like, there were emperors that hired Shaolin monks as their personal guards, and there's all kinds of stories and stuff. But and then, to take it a step further, he said that, like, if I would gladly, like, if I had to kill somebody to save somebody, and I had to suffer the karmic hell of that, I will do it. I mean, that's a whole other level of saying, like, I would go to hell to save someone's life. Wow. Wow. Talk about, deeper levels of like philosophy, religion, ethics, and martial arts. That's some heavy shit.
Hmm.
It's not what you see when you look at this guy. But well, maybe it is, because if you see the monk side of him. But fascinating. I just think it's interesting how like, you know, these two things coalesce. So on that note, I am going to wrap
Yes.
it up, guys. I got
Yeah.
a big day ahead of me, so I want to send my love. Please share the show, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I will check you guys later. Okay.
Yes. All right. Thanks for everyone that's tuned in, and yeah, we'll be back next week with a new topic. I think we've put this one to bed. We're both near enough finished on ours. Look out on social for for the final results, and I'll probably post a video time lapse this weekend. So anyway,
Beauty.
thanks again for tuning in, guys, and we will see you next week.
All right. God
Take
bless.
care.
Take care.
God
Bye
bless.
bye.
Bye.